गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीर वनचारी यमुना तीर वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय श्री श्री राधा माधव की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna. So we welcome all of you for the 7th and the last day of Science of Self-Realization course by VIHE. So we discussed few topics already and we'll go ahead with further. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षु उन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So in the last 6 sessions we have discussed who am I, that each one of us is an individual soul. I am not this body, I am spirit soul, which is different from matter. We also discussed that the soul is part and parcel of God, who is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we have a loving relationship with Krishna. We also discussed that this material world around us is manifestation of material nature, Prakriti, and it has 24 elements. And our attempts to fulfill our desires is karma, which gives karma phala, and karma bandhan, which gives fruits and entanglement. We also discussed the 6 anarthas: lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion, which keep our consciousness contaminated. That day we discussed about the mind and intelligence, that how mind should be controlled and intelligence should be used to take appropriate decisions. And the source of such decisions, the source of strong intelligence, strength of intelligence is knowledge which comes from scriptures, and scriptures which are taught to us by Guru and Sadhu. We discuss the characteristics of Guru and qualities of Sadhus. So one more topic in Bhagavad Gita is yoga. Some call it yoga. It's yoga, yog, but it's okay. So in normal English, we can read that word in that way, but it's yoga. So what does yoga mean? Yog means plus, addition, connection, union. Yog. Like this two are separate. This is circle separate, this is circle separate. So when I add and link them together, that's called yog. Linking two together. Any link is called yog. So basically, the concept of yoga includes the linking of soul with God. The soul already has a relationship with God, Krishna. But now in the material existence, we have forgotten that relationship. So the process to revive that relationship, the process to start linking or start connecting to Krishna, that process is called yoga. And when we do that, then we have value. Otherwise, we have no value. We are zero. Krishna is one. And when one is placed before zero, it becomes 10. Otherwise, zero has no value. Just like if you purchase 1 liter milk, how much does it cost, 1 liter milk? In your place, who will share? Sorry?
46.
Okay, 46 rupees 1 liter. And you take tap water 1 liter from the tap. How much that costs? Zero. So I have now 2 liter, 2 bottles. One is milk, 46 rupees. And one is tap water in another bottle, 0 rupees. Now I have a simple mathematics question to ask. What is 46 plus 0? 46? But your milkman makes it 92. Do you know that? He makes it 92. There's a different way. What he does is in one big utensil he pours both together. So 46 plus 0 is equal to 92. So what happened? The milk is still 46, but the value of water, because it's connected to the milk, increased from 0 to 46. Similarly, we are 0, but our value increases when we connect to Krishna. Otherwise, no use. Just like this finger of mine. If I cut it, or by accident it gets cut and is lying on the road, what is the value? 0, dustbin. But when it's connected to my body, will I sell it for how much rupees I will sell it? Not at all. So when it's connected to my body, it has much bigger value than when it's disconnected from my body. Even a part of a machine, if it is lying on the road, it has no value. People will kick it with the leg, with the feet. But if it is connected to the machine, it has great value. It is great contributor to the working of the machine or the product in the factory. So in the same way, we are part and parcel of Krishna, and we should be connected to Krishna. then we have value. If we are not connected to Krishna, then even if we are rich, or even if we are famous, or strong, or knowledgeable, or beautiful, or have big property, or big office, or big business, whatever, it is all zero. It is of no value. Once there were two students in this class who got their report card. So the first student, in his report card, he got 0. The second student in the report card got 0, but teacher wrote big 0. So who got more marks? Subala? Big 0 is also 0. So whether you are rich or poor, you are 0 if you are not connected to Krishna. Whether you are fool or intelligent, you are 0 if you are not connected to Krishna. Whether you are famous or not famous, you are 0 if you are not connected to Krishna. So how does it matter whether you are a big 0 or a small 0? 0 is 0. Or one student got 2-digit 0. He said, look, I got 2-digit marks. 2-digit 0. Is that value? No, it's 0. So whether you are president or prime minister or wealthiest person or businessman or PhD holder or leader, it's all 0. No value. Only when you are connected to Krishna, there is a value. So we, each one of us, have a spiritual relationship with Krishna which we have forgotten. So we need to connect to Krishna to reach to the point of reviving our relationship with Krishna. That reviving our relationship with Krishna is called self-realization. That's what the whole course is about. Where I realize self, who am I? And I cannot realize who am I unless I realize who is God and what is my relationship with God. So I realize that I am servant of Krishna. I have a loving relationship with Krishna. That's self-realization. So this whole purpose, this whole human life, the purpose of human life is to connect to Krishna. That is how we should live life. Whatever you are doing, whether you are eating, whether you are sleeping, whether you are shopping, whether you are earning, whether you are playing, or whether you are working, whatever you do, whatever occupation we do, whatever duties we execute, whatever actions we do, it should all be connected to Krishna. Otherwise, it's Shrama eva hi kevalam, useless waste of labor, donkey's work. And we should not live a donkey's life, wasting our energy in amassing profit or developing false hope that something great is going to happen with us in the future in this world. Nothing great is going to happen. Even if you are having some ambition that something great is going to happen, it is 0. Even if it happens, it's 0. Even if you become president of USA, it's 0. It's not great. Okay, let me tell you a story. Once there was a donkey in the forest. So he desired to see the city life. So from forest he came to village life. So when he arrived in the morning in the village, he saw another donkey, same species, having some load of clothes on his back, walking towards the river. So he followed him. So this village donkey was washerman's donkey, dhobi. You know, earlier washerman used to wash clothes of the village and keep the load on the donkey's back. You are aware of that, right? Anybody not aware? You can understand that, right? So the washerman's donkey used to carry the clothes till the river, and he would wash and then dry and then distribute it again on the village by keeping the load on the donkey's back. And the evening when they return home, he will give some grass to the donkey, then again next day morning. So the forest donkey in the evening came to meet the village donkey and introduced himself that I am coming from the forest. This is my first visit to the village and I am a bit surprised. What were you doing whole day? I followed you. I didn't understand anything. So the village donkey said, look, that man inside the house, he is my master. And he is a very nice person. He washes clothes of the whole village. And he cannot do it without me. Because every day 20 kg of clothes he has to carry to the river to wash and then again carry for distribution. And I do that. I carry the load for him. So he washes and distributes it to the whole village. And he's such a nice man, you know. Every day evening he gives me grass to eat. Very nice person. Forest donkey said, why are you doing this? Why are you carrying so much weight? Village donkey said, otherwise how will I get grass? He will not give me grass if I don't do it. He gives me grass, he is a nice person. Forest donkey said, but grass is available free. Why don't you come with me to the forest? There I will give you free grass. In fact, I don't have to give you, it's already available on the ground. See, here you eat only in the evening. There you can eat 24/7. Anytime you want, you can eat grass there. It's freely available. Here you eat only dry grass. There you can eat wet green grass. And here you get same flavor grass every day. There you can have different flavors from different parts of the forest. Very sweet grass. Anytime. So the village donkey laughed. He said, hey, not possible. I know. I have a worldly experience. There is nothing called free lunch. They taught me in MBA class. Nothing called free lunch. So I don't agree. So forest donkey said, let's do one thing. You come one day with me. If you feel I am cheating or speaking wrong, you come back if I am lying. And if you think I am correct, you stay with me. One day experiment. Forest donkey said, I don't want to waste time. I don't have faith. So what to do? Forest donkey left. Village donkey said, I don't have faith. So after 1 year, the village donkey came back. Sorry, the forest donkey came back to follow up. You know, in preaching you should follow up. So he came back. So he saw the same village donkey in the morning carrying 2 loads, 20 kg plus 20 kg. So whole day he followed him. So in the evening he met him. He said, hey, you remember we met last year? He said, yes, I remember. I said, how are you? He said, I am fine, but today morning I came and I was following you whole day. I saw you carry 2 loads, 20 kg plus 20 kg. What happened? The village donkey said, oh, you don't know? I said, no, what happened? He said, I got promoted. My promotion happened this year. So now I carry 40 kg. Right? In company, promotion means what? You have to take more responsibility, more work. He said, is it? Yes. And what about grass? You eat more grass? He said, no, grass I eat same. In fact, I have acidity, I can't eat much. So that's our corporate life. You get promoted, you don't eat more chapatis or more rice, you eat same amount, but you can't digest it and you have to do more work. So the forest donkey said, "Arey, you fool, I told you, you come with me, you get free grass. You don't have to take so much load." He said, "No, I cannot come. I have lots of work here." He said, "What work you have? Every day you are carrying this load. What is the use? I'll give you grass 24/7. You come with me." He said, No, I have a very bright future here. I have a very good career here. I cannot come." He said, "What is your career?" He said, "My master, he got contract of 3 more villages. So he is going to hire 8 more donkeys for those 3 villages. And he has promised me I will be their team leader. I will supervise and train them. So that's a big job for big career, to be a team leader of 8 donkeys. He said, "That's your career? You will still take load. What is the use? You come with me to the forest." He said, No, I cannot leave my golden future here." He said, "What is your future? Tomorrow 100 donkeys will be there. You will be leader of 100 donkeys. What is great in that?" He said, "No, you don't understand. My washerman, my master, he has started another business. In the daytime, he washes clothes. But in the evening time, he is Madari. Madari means he goes to the streets of various cities, various villages, and shows some play. And people throw money at him. And he has a monkey. And it is dum 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 dumru. And the monkey jumps and dances, and people throw money." The forest donkey asked, "So you will also jump and dance like a monkey?" He said, "No, listen, that is not his main play. When he plays the damru and makes the monkey dance, many people collect. Then after many people get collected, a crowd is there, then his main play starts. He ties a rope, tight rope on the sky between 2 poles. 2 poles, he ties a rope. And he has a young beautiful daughter who walks on the tight rope. And whenever she walks, people throw money. She walks so nicely, very beautiful. So whenever she climbs to walk, my master tells him, 'Look, Gudiya, my dear princess, don't fall. Because if she falls, then people will beat him.' Say, 'Don't fall. If you walk without falling, I will arrange your marriage with a Rajkumar, with a prince, with a rich person, beautiful, handsome boy. But mind well, if you fall, I'll arrange your marriage with this donkey.' So the forest donkey said, 'So what?' And village donkey said, 'Oh, someday she will fall. I am waiting for that day. I am waiting for the day she will fall.' But the village donkey doesn't know, even if she falls, that marriage is not going to happen. This is called false hope in the material world, where we are hoping tomorrow I'll be happy. Once this problem is solved, I'll be happy. Once this person dies, I'll be happy. Once this happens, I'll be happy. Once I obtain this, I'll be happy. But that happiness has not reached us. Only false hope of golden future. हम होंगे कामयाब एक दिन. Where is that एक दिन? Since hundreds of years, हम होंगे कामयाब एक दिन. But that एक दिन has never come. And it will never come. Because this world is not made for that purpose. This world is dukhalayam ashashvatam. Dukhalayam. Dukhalaya means house of dukha, house of distress. Alaya means house. Just like Pustakalay. What does Pustakalay means? Bookshop. Pustakalay, where Pustak is available. Bookshop. If you go to Pustakalay and say, my dear sir, give me one sari, that person is going to say, are you mad? Can't you read behind on the top of the shop? This is Pustakalay. How will you get sari here? How will you get clothes here? In the same way, when Krishna created this world, he wanted to put a nameplate on the world. So the nameplate is Dukhalayam, Dukhon ka ghar, house of miseries. And in this Dukhalayam, I am searching for happiness. So we go to Krishna and say, oh my dear Lord, please give me happiness, Sukha deo, Dhan deo. And Krishna says, Arey pagal, you mad person, why don't you read the nameplate? This world is full of miseries, Dukhalayam, how will you get happiness? It doesn't work like that. So many people came and tried, but they died a miserable death with pain. And they became dog and cat next life. So there is no happiness. It doesn't make sense. Happiness doesn't exist. It's illusion. Even a pig eats stool and feels happy. Will you call that happiness? No. That's not called happiness. It is imaginary. Like a football player, he kicks a ball inside a net and he feels happy. If the ball goes 1 centimeter outside the net, he feels unhappy. In both cases, he kicked the ball, but he feels happy only if it goes in one location. Why don't you make a bigger net, wider net? You will be more happy, more balls will go inside the net. So it's imaginary happiness. Who gets benefit in the world by kicking a ball in a particular location? Nobody gets benefit. There is nothing tangible here. So the actual happiness we don't know. That's only when we connect to Krishna. Because he is Sat Chit Anand. He is full of happiness. So Prabhupada explains, just like a honey bottle is there, honey bottle, tightly closed with a lid. And one fly comes on the glass outside of the bottle and it licks with the tongue. So it gets a taste of glass. But the fly thinks I got the taste of honey, because fly doesn't know the taste of honey. So the fly goes back to his friend and says, today I tasted honey, very nice. But what you tasted is the glass. The actual way to taste honey is to open the bottle and drink it. So whatever so-called imaginary happiness we have here is that of glass. The actual honey we have not come in contact. And that is Krishna, the actual honey, Madhuram, king of honey. Krishna is king of sweetness, Madhuram. So we need to connect to Krishna somehow. And there are different ways to connect to Krishna. One is called Karma Yoga, then Jnana Yoga, then Dhyana Yoga, then Bhakti Yoga, Hatha Yoga, like that. Hatha Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. So when one tries to connect to Krishna, and that connection process is predominant with karma, fruitive activities, that's Karma Yoga. So he is interested in Krishna and is interested in karma. That's Karma Yoga. Like a civil engineer. He comes to a sadhu and says, I want to serve Krishna by building a temple. And the sadhu said, as of now we are not building a temple. We want to clean this place. Can you clean broom? He said, no. I will only serve by building a temple. So he is interested in civil engineering, building a temple, and wants to serve Krishna. So that's Karma Yoga, where fruitive activity, karma is predominant. Only this way, this activity. And he wants a result. He wants some name, fame or something result. Karma Yoga. Jnana Yoga means he is interested just to know about Krishna. Not that he loves or likes Krishna. He just wants to know. Jnani wants liberation. Dhyana Yoga means he wants to meditate to get some siddhis, to get some magical powers. Meditate on Vishnu. And Bhakti Yoga means connect to Krishna by love and service, by offering service to Krishna. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains these various yogas. So Arjuna asks, you tell me which is the best. And Krishna says bhakti is the best. Only by bhakti you can know me. By karma, jnana, dhyana, we cannot know Krishna. We cannot go to the ultimate relationship with Krishna. Only by bhakti, only by love, only by loving service, by seva, we can develop a relationship with Krishna. Nothing else will work. So we don't have time to experiment with karma, jnana, dhyana, how much age we have. So as Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita, ISKCON talks about practicing bhakti yoga, which means whatever you do it with love for Krishna. You're cooking, you cook for Krishna. You offer him food and then you have prasadam. You are whatever activity you do, you offer it to Krishna. Whether you give charity, or you do austerity, or you gain knowledge, or you perform an occupational duty, do a job, or do housework, or study, we should do it for Krishna. So we should either do a devotional activity, or we should do an activity and the result should be given to Krishna. Like Arjuna is fighting. In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is fighting war. Fighting is not a bhakti activity, but he fought for Krishna to satisfy Krishna's desire, to contribute to Krishna's mission, Paritrānaya sadhūnām vināṣaya duṣkrita, to please Krishna. He fought for Krishna. So we give the result of our activity to Krishna. So when we do that, that is bhakti. In Vrindavan, when Krishna appeared as a small baby, he performed so many nice childhood pastimes. So at one day, one lady who was selling fruit vendor, she came to house of Krishna, house of Yashoda Maiya, carrying a basket of fruits. So small Krishna saw, and small Krishna desired to have fruits. So he immediately went to the kitchen and picked up a palmful of rice grains, because he had seen his father how he purchased fruits. That's called barter system. You give 1 kilogram rice and you get 1 kilogram fruits. Barter by weight. Whatever you give 1 kilogram, another object you get 1 kilogram. Barter by weight. So Krishna took a palmful of rice. Now Krishna, a small baby, has a very small palm, so very few grains he could hold. And he ran towards the door. And while running, because he was not careful, most of the grains fell from the gap between fingers. So when he reached and opened his palm, only 4 or 5 grains of rice was there. So seeing that, Krishna became unhappy, sad, small boy, that out of 4 or 5 grains, what will I get? As per barter is as per weight. So after 4 grains, you give 4 grains rice, you will not get 1 grape also. The weight of grape is higher. So that lady, fruit vendor lady, she saw such a beautiful boy. She got captivated by the beauty of Krishna. So she said, "Oh, my dear boy, darling boy, this 4 grains are sufficient." And she gave so many fruits to Krishna, 8-10 fruits, which Krishna took it with his both the arms and ran to show his mother that he did a better barter than his father. He gave 4 grains of rice and got 8-10 fruits. Meanwhile, this lady turned to pick up her basket of fruits, and she saw all the fruits had vanished, and they were replaced by gold, diamond, pearls, sapphires, emeralds, or golden ornaments. So by giving little fruits to Krishna, she was a gainer millions of times more, not a loser. So when we perform bhakti, then we are gainer, not loser. Now, we may not immediately have love for Krishna, or it may not be perfectly expressed. So there are rules and regulations we follow which will help us to develop love for Krishna by Krishna's mercy. And those rules and regulations is called sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti means disciplined activity we do every day under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. So when we do that, then our heart is purified, and gradually we develop attachment to Krishna, we develop love for Krishna. So in association of devotees, under the guidance of Vaishnavas, sadhus, we live our life with Krishna in the center. So that means I'll tell you what sadhana we do, and you should gradually, if you are starting or about to start or have started, gradually come to that platform. And we also have to go further. So we brahmacharis in the temple have a schedule which I will share. We get up at 3:30 a.m. in the morning every day, even today, every day 3:30 a.m. And then we take bath and then apply tilak. This is tilak which we apply, and then wear fresh washed clothes which are washed a day before or kept washed. And then we go to temple. We have deities of Shri Shri Radha Ras Bihari, Shri Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, Giriraj Ji. We go to temple where 4:30 a.m. the first darshan happens. That's called Mangala Aarti, where we offer obeisances to Krishna, Dandavad Pranam, and we sing Sansara Davanala prayers and chant Hare Krishna, Kirtan. Then after Mangala Aarti happens Narsingha Aarti, prayers to Lord Narsingha Dev. Then after that Tulsi Aarti, we offer water and parikrama to Tulsi Maharani and worship her. Then we chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra on beads every day. Morning 5:15 to 7:15. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Then 7:15 there is Shingar Aarti. The Lord again gives darshan after Shingar. Then there is Guru Puja. We worship Srila Prabhupada, who is founder Acharya of ISKCON. Then we have a Bhagavatam class. And then we have our lunch. 9 a.m. is our lunch. Generally people wake up by 6-7 a.m. and they have lunch after 6 hours, 12 or 1 o'clock. We wake up at 3:30 a.m. After 6 hours, 9:30 we have our lunch. And then day to day, in the daytime we have some services in the temple. Somebody does pujari service, somebody does publication, somebody does distribution of books, somebody takes care of accounts or cleaning or giving classes or seminars, taking care of new devotees, training, so many management, organization, finance. Then we take dinner at 4-5 p.m. Then we have Sandhya Aarti, or we have some outreach programs, or give classes, or read Swadhyaya. And then we drink hot milk and sleep by 8-9 p.m. 9-10 p.m. That's our day. And our lifestyle includes following 4 regulative principles: no meat eating, no intoxication, no tea, coffee, no onion, garlic, no chocolates, no gambling, no illicit sex. Brahmacharis don't marry. Grihasthas also can follow the same lifestyle. And we follow Ekadashi, follow Janmashtami, Gaur Purnima, do preaching, serve devotees. This is our lifestyle. That's sadhana bhakti, following the rules and regulations of sadhana. And everybody can do. They can start slow and gradually grow up under proper guidance. So by doing this, our heart is purified. And in pure heart, Krishna visits, and we realize our relationship with Krishna. There are Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakhyaras, Vatsalyaras, Madhuryaras. Maybe one of the next course you can study that. So primary relationship with Krishna, in nude, passive lover, active lover, servant, or friend, or conjugal lover, or mother or father. And we revive our relationship with Krishna, serve Krishna in that relationship. That is called self-realization, to revive our relationship with Krishna. And once we are perfect, 100% pure, we go again back to Krishna, where we have come from, and eternally stay with Him. So this success is possible just by chanting and hearing. Every day we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 16 rounds, that's the most important part of sadhana, and we read and hear Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. We read Prabhupada books and we hear from devotees, and we associate with pure devotees. We serve them. We serve cows, we serve deities, we serve Vaishnavas. So, in association of devotees, we follow within our ability and capacity, we follow this lifestyle. Then we become successful. The success of human form of life is to develop this love for Krishna. Everything else is useless, no value. The ambition to become rich or get a car and bungalow or have children married and have grandchildren and retire nicely or become famous or get a leadership post, these are not of value. Okay, this one may do as opportunity arises, but if they are not connected to Krishna, it's donkey's work. Shrama eva hi kevalam. The goal of life is to develop love for Krishna. Sense gratification we do in other species also. In dog and animal species also this happens. But in human form of life, athato brahma jigyasa, now we should inquire in up to absolute truth, inquire about Brahma. So human form of life should not be used what animals are supposed to. Human is different from animals. So human form of life is for worshipping and serving Krishna. So we should continue our seeking absolute truth, our spiritual path we should continue. We should continue associating with devotees, we should continue hearing from seniors, we should continue reading books and continue participating in the process of bhakti, visiting temple, and continue this process. Continue learning so that our faith keeps on increasing, our dependence on Krishna keeps on increasing, and finally when the faith is 100%, that is love. 100% faith is equal to love. So now we have faith, that's why we are hearing this. Maybe 1%, 2%, 10%, 20%, 50%, whatever amount of faith we have. We keep watering this faith, we keep nourishing this faith by chanting, hearing in association of devotees. One day it will become 100%. And that's love. And that love is already in our heart. We don't have to learn from somewhere how to love. It is covered. We just have to uncover it. The lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion has covered love. Now we have to uncover it, and we uncover it by chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is very powerful. So by chanting Harinam, holy name of Krishna, we can develop love for Krishna by mercy of Krishna. That's called self-realization. So this human form is an opportunity and we should utilize it, otherwise it will go waste. Okay, for now we will end here. Thank you very much. Definitely I can speak more, but if there are any questions, because it's the last day, giving more time for questions. So if there are any questions, we will take. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions you may please ask. Yes, please go ahead.
Can I ask for previous classes?
Yeah.
One day you are taking somebody that dharma, like a water dharma, like a or that jiva dharma. But jiva dharma is serving to Krishna, but we are serving some other duties serving for other person or in the material world. But our duty is to serve Krishna, our jiva dharma.
Yes, what is your question?
Then how should we decide that we are right now in the serving some material or somebody, or we should serve Krishna?
Yeah, so there is Varnashram Dharma based on Varna and Ashram. Like Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra have their Dharma and ladies have their Dharma. So we do it so that ultimately Krishna is being served. Like that day I explained, if you are a housewife, then you have to cook for husband, children and senior member in the house or guest in the house. So you cook for Krishna, offer it to Krishna and everybody partakes prasadam. So that is service to Krishna. Cooking is service for Krishna. Offering to Krishna is service for Krishna. Honoring prasadam is also service to Krishna. So whatever we do, we should do it for Krishna and our duty are aligned to it. So if our duties include some sinful activities, we should stop that. And whatever we do, it should be in service to Krishna. If you like singing, then you sing bhajan, sing for Krishna. If you like reading, you read Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Whatever activities we do, we should align it to Krishna and do our Varnashram, take care of our family also. Taking care of family is not against Krishna consciousness. We should just follow the principles. So cleaning the house, cleaning the kitchen, purchasing vegetables and groceries, taking care of children, cooking and offering it to Krishna, offering Aarti to Krishna, chanting our rounds, reading and hearing Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. So we live a life like that. If we are doing job, then part of income should be used in charity to cows, sadhus and Krishna. So the income is purified. Whatever we purchase with that income, we should offer it to Krishna first. Whether you purchase fruits or milk or grains or even cloths or anything, offer it to Krishna. Use it in Krishna's service. Okay? Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any more questions?
Guruji, I just want to understand that you explain about mind, intelligence, with various examples. So, how we can understand about the feelings, like feeling of compassion, anger, love. So, how these three things work, like mind, intelligence work with the feelings.
Yeah, feelings are present in the mind, and knowledge is acting through intelligence. So when a decision happens, we have to process both emotions, feelings and knowledge, and whichever is more prominent, that item wins and the decision happens. For example, a stranger comes and put a needle in my body, put a pin in my body, I'll become angry and I'll act on anger and try to slap him or run away from him out of fear. But if a doctor puts a needle in my body, I'll not become angry. Tolerance will come out because I'll have knowledge that what he's doing is good for me. And at the end I will say, doctor, how much I should pay you for this pain? And I'll pay him and say thank you also. Right? Because there's knowledge acting there that I should tolerate this pain for my betterment. But when the stranger is putting a pin, then the knowledge is saying that he is enemy. He is not a well-wisher. Right? So there's anger, there's fear. If somebody is hungry in front of me and I have compassion and I have food in my hand, I will share half. I said, okay, you also eat half. That's compassion. But somebody's heart is so hard, he will sit in front of a poor starving person and eat and not share. Right? So there are feelings, there are emotions, there is knowledge, they all contribute to a decision. So
How can we control this? So, like sometimes it happens that our anger, we can't control our anger, or sometimes we are too emotional with things. So, like, how can we control these things?
no, that's your natural situation. Let it be. It should not just make you perform a sinful activity or make you break any principles of Krishna consciousness. If your chanting is happening, four executive principles is happening, and there are some emotions and feelings, let it be. There is nothing wrong. Every duty requires certain different amount of knowledge and emotions. Like a mother requires emotions and feelings towards the child. You cannot just use knowledge there. A father uses knowledge to take care of the child, and mother uses emotions to take care of the child, and both works, and both are required. Generally, if you leave a child with the father and say feed him, and the father will take a spoon and food and go to the child, and child says no, I don't want to eat. Father say okay, I'll eat later, and he will leave it because he is using logic and knowledge. He is not hungry, he doesn't want. But mother will tell 10 times stop playing and eat, and forcibly by some story or some joke she will put it in the mouth, and child will eat, and he will not realize that he has eaten, because mother is acting more on emotions, and that emotions are required to take care of the child, not just logic. But then there are other aspects of life where logic is required, knowledge is required. If you are going for purchasing a expensive item, it is required not just emotion, the color is nice so I'll give the money. You have to see the quality also, right? So different duties require that. So if you have some emotions and feelings and that are not disturbing your life, that is not disturbing, giving you pain, that is not disturbing your bhakti, then we don't have to reject them or avoid them, right? So they are part of our existence. We are not stones, and we are not trying to become stones, and we are not trying to learn this knowledge to become stones. We have emotions and feelings, we have a natural affection, that's okay. We just have to direct them to Krishna. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Next.
Project, can you please also explain something on laws of karmas, like how karmas work in our life?
Yes. So karma means, as we discussed, action. When we have a desire and we perform action to fulfill that desire, that's called karma. And every action has a reaction. So we get a fruit of karma, karma phala. So there are good karma and bad karma, papa and punya. So when we perform an action as per the laws of Krishna, of Creator, that's good karma. When we perform an action breaking the laws, that's bad karma, like good citizens, bad citizens. Good driver, bad driver. If he drives the car as per traffic laws, he is a good driver. If he doesn't follow the traffic law, he is a bad driver. If the citizens follow the city laws or the country laws, they are good citizens. If they don't follow, then they are bad citizens. So Krishna has made laws in this creation. For example, I am hungry. My desire is to eat food. So there is a law. You either do farming, or you go to forest and pluck fruits, or you earn and purchase food, or you beg. Then you're a good person. But if you steal, that's a bad karma. Right? You have a conflict, you sit and resolve, talk and resolve. But if you be violent and beat somebody, that's a bad karma. So when we do good karma, we get good results. That's happiness, reward. When we do bad karma, we get bad results. That's punishment, distress. So sukha dukkha comes because of good and bad karma, papa and punya. And as we do karma, we gather fruits. And in this life we get some fruits, some are pending. And because of that pending fruits, we take one more birth. And in that birth we get these fruits. But we do more karma. So again the next birth, and like this cycle of birth and that continues. So those who are very papi, they go to Narakloka after death and they suffer there. Those who are very nice, pious people, they go to Swargaloka and enjoy for a few thousand years. So the life cycle continues in earth planet. So karma gives entanglement, karma bandhan. We get entangled. So the only way to come out is to serve Krishna 24 hours. When we serve Krishna, then we no longer get entangled with karma. All the karma and their reactions are wiped away, and we get liberated from cycle of birth and death. So that's the gist. Okay.
Yes. So is it like if the bad karma, the good karma, so we get result in the next birth, not in the same birth?
We may get in the same birth, we may get in next birth, we may get after 10 births. It all depends on the time duration required for that karma to fructify. So it's not fixed. Okay. Any more questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, like after we die, everyone go to the Yamloka and then proceed the next birth, or like we just like changing the ways from to another way, like material particularly. Who go to Yamloka and who not necessarily?
I am so sorry. I didn't understand the. I didn't. It wasn't. The voice was not clear. Who go to heaven planet? You are saying.
They hear that go to Yamloka and there will be judgment there. Then
Not clear. Can you speak little slow speed? Okay. If you will take time to clear or get ready, we can take next question till that.
You are able to hear, bro?
Yes.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for very nice stroke. My question is like, people will say that we go to the Yamalok and there we get the judgment. So, is it this process is for everyone, or like for some, after changing after that immediately we get directly the next body to the material nature, or who goes to Yamalok and then proceed to the next species, or what is the
Yeah.
understanding?
Yeah. So all don't have to go to Yamaloka. Only very sinful people go to Yamaloka and they get punishment there. Those who are mixed and mildly sinful, they take birth here only in the earth planet and get punishment here only. So it's like you do small crime, you go to local jail. If you do a bigger one, you go to central jail for a longer duration. But a small crime, you just go to lock up for few hours or few days. Right? In the same way, Yamaloka is a central jail for a bigger duration. So those who do very bigger papa or lots of papa, they go to Yamaloka. Others suffer here only. Is that okay?
Okay, and those are destined for Swarga.
So
Their
yeah.
system, they will not go.
So they go to Swarga, but nowadays very less are going to Swarga. There's big waiting list going on for Yamaloka only.
Okay, Yamaloka is the place where only sinners will go.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Next.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
What is the difference between karma yoga and the activities that are done in bhakti yoga but not in night devotional service? Like if we like to sing or if we like to dance, then we do it for Krishna. But how is it different from karma yoga?
Okay. Karma yoga means you are, suppose somebody is singing. So karma yoga means you are interested in Krishna and singing. Bhakti yoga means you are interested in Krishna and Krishna. So you love Krishna, so you are singing for him. Here you love singing and you want to connect to Krishna. You know the goal of life is Krishna. So you sing bhajan or sing for Krishna. So So in Karma Yoga also, somebody who does that, he is interested in some fruit also. Singing will give me claps, singing will give me popularity and future invitations, and people will today know I am a best singer of the world. Right? In Bhakti Yoga, they are just interested that Krishna is pleased. Krishna smiles, that's sufficient. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
So, Prabhuji, can we say that the devotees who are householders and like they are earning money, so they are included, they are involved in Karma Yoga?
Not necessarily. If you are doing it for Krishna and you have material desires and ambition and you are trying to rid of them to purify, that's still Bhakti Yoga. That may not be pure Bhakti Yoga because we are not yet come to the pure platform, but we are on the path. So I still have material desire and I am serving Krishna to not fulfill the material desire but to eventually rid from material desire. That's still Bhakti Yoga because there is still a desire to serve Krishna, eventually to love Krishna. So
You
that's
say that if we are earning money, so we are spending money for our sense gratification also, and equally we are giving money for Krishna's service also. So it's a Karma Yoga.
well, yeah. So you are interested in earning money, you are interested in work, and you know the goal of life is Krishna. So you are giving the result of work to Krishna. That's Karma Yoga. But here you are interested in Krishna and you are maintaining the body with the attitude that this body is used for service of Krishna, so I have to maintain it. And my occupational duty, I should use it to give charity to Krishna. So it's a shift in the thought process. So it's Bhakti Yoga. But never mind, whoever we are called, it is all related to Bhakti Yoga because eventually we reach to that platform. We reach the platform of loving Krishna. So, Bhakti is a ladder. Halfway to the ladder, somebody is Karma Yoga. Another part, halfway, somebody is Dhyan Yoga, Jnana Yoga. Finally is Bhakti Yoga. So, we are on the ladder. So, you can call it Karma ladder if you are stopping in it between. But if you are going all the way, you are Bhakti. Like there is a road from Bombay goes to Ahmedabad, but I can get down at Surat. So somebody asked me, where are you? I said, I am on Surat Road. Actually, it's Ahmedabad Road. It goes to Ahmedabad also. But I can use just say because my destination is Surat. So the ladder contains all these parts. And finally the ladder is Bhakti part, Bhakti Yoga. So we can call that Bhakti Yoga also. Technical difference is in the thought process. Okay? Next. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dharma Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
I want to know how do the modes of nature act on us?
Well, mode of goodness, passion and ignorance influence us, influence our consciousness and our mind and intelligence, and accordingly we like certain things and dislike certain things. Accordingly we eat, accordingly we sleep, accordingly we wear, accordingly we worship. Everything is according to that. So somebody's mode of goodness, he will like certain kind of food like vegetables, fruits, simple, sattvic, less masala, rice, sabji. Somebody mode of passion, he will like chilli, more fried, more tamarind, more khatta, more masala, more chatpata, more spicy. Somebody in ignorance will like meat, or he will like burnt food, or kept 2-3 days ka food, or such kind of things. So similarly, somebody will like to stay only in a clean place and he will clean the room every day. That's mode of goodness. Somebody will like to stay in a place where there are lots of gadgets and objects to use. There's a TV, there's this, so that he can keep interacting. And somebody just in a very unclean place, cleans once a month, it's okay, things are scattered here and there. That's mode of ignorance. So, like a cow, lion, and donkey, all three are animals, but all three have different qualities. If you take a stick and hit a cow, cow will tolerate. If you take a stick and go to a lion to hit, lion will attack you first. And if you take a stick and hit a donkey, it's unpredictable whether it will tolerate or run away or kick you. So those who are in mode of goodness, they act on knowledge. So they are more calm, peaceful, have good qualities. Passion, they act by desire, profit, loss, right? Goodness means right and wrong. Passion means profit and loss, comfort and convenience, or discomfort and inconvenience. And mode of ignorance is complete mad. They procrastinate, they are lazy, they sleep more. Today's work they will do tomorrow. So these are visible characteristics of how modes influence us and our behavior. Okay?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you, Prabhu. But how is it that, Prabhuji, that one day we are in one mode and some other day we are in some other mode sometimes?
Not one day, even whole 1 hour. The three modes keep changing. So it depends on our association, our practice, the time of the day. All three modes are required. At night, ignorance is required so that we can sleep. Early morning is fresh goodness so that we study or worship preferably. And afternoon is passion so that we can do our job. All three are required. If you want to make something new, you need passion. If you want to maintain what you already made, you need goodness. And you want to destroy something, you need ignorance. So all three are required. But overall we should try to be in goodness. Then life is better. So all the three modes always fight to dominate. And based on the time and based on so many factors, one dominates.
So actually for bhakti we are supposed to overcome all these modes, so Prabhuji.
Yes.
So how do we overcome these modes?
By practicing devotional service, we come out of the three modes of material nature. So we continue practicing. Krishna is transcendental. Krishna's holy name is transcendental. So the more we are staying connected to Krishna, the more we become transcendental. So when we are 24 hours connected to Krishna, then we are completely transcendental.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Any more questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
How
Krishna.
can we identify the person who is in goodness or
So somebody.
who is in the mode of goodness?
Yeah, so if you see somebody always angry, proud, envious, violent, that is person in mode of ignorance. You see somebody always trying to generate profit, comfort, convenience, to get something for him, ambition, too much ambition, that's mode of passion. You see somebody calm, composed, satisfied, tolerant, honest, truthful, that's mode of goodness. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions?
No, Prabhu, maybe sometimes we will see some person mixed with this.
Yeah, there is no pure mode. It's always mixed only. So which mode dominates, that is visible. But it's always mixed only. There is no pure. There is nobody in pure ignorance, nobody in pure passion, nobody in pure goodness. And pure goodness is transcendence. That's Krishna and his pure devotees. But in material world you don't see that purity. Right? It will always be mixed.
Hare
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Is there an ambition in bhakti also?
Yes, we can have an ambition to serve Krishna, to get up early morning, to chant our rounds nicely. So these are spiritual desires to advance in bhakti, and that's good. But if there are ambitions, if there are desires to perform spiritual activity to gain some material result, or to win a competition, or to show to somebody that I am better, so that's not desirable. But to improve our own self, to transform our own self, to please Krishna, that's desirable. Okay? Any more questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Jishnu.
Prabhuji, I have a doubt that Hare Krishna devotees are putting the tilak on a special kind of means in a special way. Okay? And in South India, especially in Kerala, I have seen that many Krishna devotees or Hindus are wearing the chandan in they are putting chandan in between the eyebrows. What's the difference between these two things? These two.
So in fact there are more than two. There are many ways of putting tilak. Different sampradaya have different way of putting tilak, and it just identifies a sampradaya from another one to another. It's a logo to identification. At the same time there's a philosophy behind it. So the tilak which we put in ISKCON, you see two parallel lines starting from forehead till up, two parallel lines, and then a leaf like structure. So these two parallel lines are lotus feet of Krishna, and this is a leaf, tulsi leaf. Tulsi leaf is always present at the lotus feet of Krishna. So the tilak symbolizes that we are at the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishna's our master, and we are sitting at his feet. Our head is at Krishna's feet. So that's what the philosophy is behind this tilak. And also when we put tilak on the forehead, we put it at other 12 parts of the body we put tilak. Visible is forehead. So anybody who sees us and sees the tilak, he remembers Krishna. So it helps us to help others to remember Krishna. Right? So other tilaks would have their own philosophy which I am not aware.
Here people saying that when wearing the chandan in between the eyebrows, that will energize the chakra. That will help to energize the chakra.
That's not the purpose of tilak. See, the nerve below this eyebrows is connected to many parts of the body. But that's not the purpose of tilak. It's not for health purpose. It's a spiritual purpose that this body is Krishna's body, and I should stay at the feet of Krishna. I am servant of Krishna. So many things we do in spiritual life are good for health also. But that's not the reason we are doing. Like getting up early morning is good for health. But we are not waking up so that we are good in health. That's anyway there. We are waking up so that we attend Mangala Arati. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Any more questions? Sridhar Prabhu, I am aware there are some questions you are asking on Facebook. I will come back to you after this Zoom session.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Question. I just met one devotee, and he is very senior and very sincere kind of a devotee with everything, with his sadhana and everything, but very passionate about his career. So like how we can just see both the things. So is he in a mode of goodness or mode of passion?
So, well,
As a devotee,
yeah, continue.
yeah. So like the feedback I got is as a devotee, he's a very good devotee with everything, but when it comes to career, he's very passionate about his career. So
Okay, well, I would say at present stage of your education in Krishna consciousness, whatever knowledge you are acquiring, you use it to understand yourself. At this stage, it is not good to use this knowledge to judge or understand others, because we may end up doing mistakes. It requires good maturity, experience, and deep understanding to judge or understand others. Just by few meetings or few visits or few communication with somebody, it's not easy to understand somebody's consciousness, right? So
So, want to understand, Prabhu, like you said, that being very passionate about the career is a mode of passion. So, is it a good thing or a bad thing? I just want to understand this. Is it good for
yeah,
our spiritual life to being very focused on our career? At the same time, with the spiritual life also, but being very focused on the career is it good?
yeah, see, we have to understand the purpose of what we are doing. So if you are talking for self, then we should be introspective. Why I am going to college? To get a degree. Why I want a degree? So I want a job. Why do I want a job? So I get salary. Why the salary? So that I earn money. Why money? So that I eat. Why do you eat? So that I live. Why do you live? So that I serve Krishna. But on the way, the job is so demanding that service to Krishna is stopped or reduced, then there is some problem. But if your job is such that you are earning well and your service is not disturbed, there is no problem. But if your job is disturbing your health, that's a problem. If your job is disturbing your family relationship, that's a problem. Right? So the balance is required. So for self, we should be introspective that why I am doing something, and whatever answer we get, we should introspect that answer. Whatever new answer we get, we should ask why to that answer till we reach a final point, which is either Krishna consciousness or sense gratification. And then we should understand what is happening is appropriate or not. Is it favorable for my devotional service or unfavorable? So that's how we should understand ourselves. The reason I told you not to understand others through this process is what is happening in their heart we don't know. But definitely a material job is only purpose is to maintain our body. That should not become a goal of life. The goal of life is to serve Krishna. Right? Like a husband tells wife, get ready, we have to go to a cinema or go to a party. And she is so passionate about looking good that she takes 3-4 hours to get ready and the party is over. So what is the use of getting ready when you cannot attend the event? So what is the use of earning money when you cannot serve Krishna? So we should know what is the goal and what is the way. So don't spend so much time on the way. Move forward to reach the goal. So if job is a way to maintain the body and the body is used in service of Krishna, then we do minimum maintenance. Not so much job and maintenance so that we don't get time for Krishna. Right? So ideally, yes, one should not be so much for career and money such that it disturbs your bhakti. But different devotees are at different stage. We can't artificially impose them and judge them. So we allow them to gradually progress. Right? So this knowledge is useful to create a transformation for ourselves. But if we use this knowledge to judge others, we may fail. Because the very purpose of knowledge is not to be judgmental. Right? It is for learning. That what is good for me, let me do it. Not compare myself with others. Okay?
Because sometimes we look such people as an inspiration also, because they are balancing both the things very properly and they are very pure devotee. Because sometimes we just try to find out some inspiration or maybe some motivation to see such devotees like this.
Yeah, so anybody who is higher than us is our inspiration. We can learn that aspect from that person. And let me tell you very frankly, if this was an advanced class, I will say balance is nonsense. We should not do 50-50. We should do 0-100. We should only serve Krishna. That's the purpose of life. What is this balance 50-50? 50 Krishna, 50 somebody else. Krishna doesn't want our 99% love. Krishna doesn't want our 99.99% love. Krishna wants our full 100%. It's like wife telling the husband 50% I love you, 50% I love the neighbor. Would the husband be happy? How much husband will be happy? 99 and 1? 99% I love you, 1% I love the neighbor. Husband will be happy? No. Husband wants 100%. And wife wants 100% from the husband, right? So Krishna also wants 100%. So where is this balance coming? But okay, we are not on that platform, so we say, okay, balance it out. But eventually we have developed that. So even if you are a wife or even if you are working, it should be 100% for Krishna. Externally we may do our duties, but internally 100% for Krishna. That is the main important point. Okay? Okay. Next.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. When you say this is the knowledge for self-realization, can we also say this also for self-discovery?
What is self-discovery?
Discovery of self.
That's okay, you can use any word. Scriptures use self-discovery, self-realization, Atma Sakshatkar. You can use self-discovery, no problem.
Yeah. And one more. Shall we have the study materials for this class?
Sorry, come back.
Yeah. Shall we have study materials for this class?
Oh, so there is a book, Science of Self-Realization, which talks about most of the principles we discussed here. But frankly, I didn't follow that book.
Yeah.
I just spoke.
see.
I just spoke.
Because I already studied that book, I see you didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just spoke whatever basic philosophy I am aware of and explained it from my whole reading, maybe Bhagavad Gita, maybe Bhagavatam, maybe my experience. So, but if you read Science of Self-Realization, most of these things you will get. So there is no study material I have to share with you. And nowadays these audios are there, these are all recorded, I guess. So they are available, and that you can refer to. Okay?
All the lectures are recorded and uploaded.
Yeah, okay. So you can refer to always. And if there are any questions, further questions, if you read the book and you get questions, you can contact me.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So, if somebody does not have proper food or a house of his or her own, and then how somebody can really think of bhakti then? In this today's material world, everybody is looking to have their own house at least, and then working towards it. And then if you say that okay, leave that aside and just do 100% to bhakti, how do we? I mean, you saying the balancing act is not required. How do we do that then?
No, so as I said, if it was an advanced class, I would have said that, which is true. And when you are starting your bhakti, you add Krishna to your life. We are not subtracting the desire for house and food. We are saying add Krishna to your life. So when you don't have a house and you want to have a house, you are not working 24 hours anyway. You are sleeping, you are taking bath, you are eating, you are relaxing, right? So you add Krishna to your life, you add in the schedule that okay, for 1 hour I'll chant or read, right? And then gradually increase it. So we are telling add Krishna in your life, right? Okay. Any more questions?
Prabhu, can you touch on free will and destiny? Like, if somebody wants to kill an animal forcibly by using his free will, and if that animal is not destined, then it will not get killed, or like because we are using that free will, and the destiny of the opposite animal may get changed, or like only if it is destined, then it will get killed, even if I use the free will to kill that animal, or how is
Yes.
free will and destiny?
Yes, you can use your free will to attempt to kill somebody, but if that person is not destined to be killed, you will be failure. So many assassination attempts get failure. So the person is destined to continue to live, then that person will be saved by somehow. So you will get punished for not murder, you get punished for attempt to murder. So that's there. So if I want to give pain to somebody, I can be successful or unsuccessful. If the person is supposed to receive pain, I will be successful. If he is not supposed to receive pain, I will be failure. I will not be able to give the pain. Okay?
That means all these animals, if they are not destined to get killed, they will never get killed. But,
Yes.
somebody should be in a medium to get
No. If some animal is destined to be killed, that will naturally happen. Death will happen. But if you actually choose to kill, then you will get punishment. You can't say this animal was destined to kill, so I should not be punished. It's like a murderer by the court is hanged, is punished that today 2 p.m. he will be hanged. And 2 p.m. I go and shoot him with a gun. I can't say you were anyway about to kill him, so I killed him. What is the big deal? No, I will be punished again because I used my free will to shoot him by gun. Otherwise, he would have punished by the gallows, by the court. So, if somebody is destined to be killed, we don't have to go and do it. If we go and do it using our choice and free will, then we will be punished. That's violence. So, that will happen by natural instruments. There are many natural instruments like disease or any such thing, or some other animal will eat a smaller animal. So, when a cat eats a rat, the cat will not get murder punishment because that's a natural situation. Anyway, animals don't have karma. You're with me?
Yes, true.
Okay.
That means whatever animals are there in the slaughterhouses and all, like whether they attempt to kill or not, if they are destined to get killed, they will be killed anyway at that time.
Yes, they will follow their life, but because we are killing them, so we will be punished. We will incur sinful activity.
Okay, thank you, Bruce.
Okay. Any more questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Just a quick one.
Yeah.
How have you been in the movement?
Sorry, I didn't hear properly.
Sorry, I'm asking how long have you been in the movement?
How long I have been? Well, I joined 1997, so that's 20 years. Okay.
Okay. And you have been. And what has kept you in it for that long?
What?
What has maintained you in the movement for this long? What has kept you
Oh,
enthusiastic for this?
well, my chanting, reading, preaching, morning program, nice friends in Krishna consciousness. So, and Krishna himself is so sweet boy. He's so nice. He's so beautiful. It's His mercy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Can we get your mail ID also, bro? Like if any doubt or anything is there, contact you.
Yeah, I am less on mail, more on WhatsApp. Is that okay?
Yes, boss.
So Vajanand Babu, can you give them? You must be having some WhatsApp group, right?
I think Prabhuji may co-host some other.
Okay, so you want to write down? It's India code is +91 and my mobile number, WhatsApp number is 9987786 412.
Can you please repeat those?
9987786 412.
Thank you, bro. Thank you very much, boss. So grateful to you.
Okay, thank you. We will end here. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. We would like to thank Gopaleshwar Prabhuji for his nice and insightful classes. Prabhuji has explained all the basic concepts very nicely with very nice examples. So and I'm sure everybody would have had their basics very clear by now. Thank you so much for accepting this seva, Prabhuji, and we hope to have you in the future also.
Yeah, thank you, Vajanand Prabhu. It's always nice to speak to VIT students and all the devotees. Okay, my best wishes to all of you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. And I have a friend in Bombay, Juhu Temple. Maybe next time we can see you.
Yeah, sure, you are welcome.
That is Varaha Mataji, Varaha Luka.
Okay, yes. She is our senior Mataji here. Okay, nice.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
See you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm leaving. Hare Krishna. Yeah, dear devotees on Facebook, I'll take the question on Facebook chat, Facebook comment box. Where is the question? Sridhar Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu, sometimes I feel I am stuck in whatever progress I have made so far, but feel very weak in moving forward in the quality of my worship to Krishna. May I kindly know how do I overcome this situation? So, well, each one of us should try to progress more and more in bhakti, and if at all we are getting thoughts like that, of course we should be patient in our progress. But if we are getting that thoughts, we should use that as an opportunity to intensify our bhakti, which means A, we should get up early morning, B, we should chant nicely and more rounds, we should read and hear more, and we should serve more, preach more, associate with devotees more, and in that way we will feel more enthusiastic and continue doing bhakti. So that's what I can say, Sridhar Prabhu. At the same time, we can talk in person also. Next is, may I also know difference between Karma Yoga, Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 title, and Karma Yoga in Krishna consciousness, Bhagavad Gita chapter 5 title. Karma Yoga meaning is already connection with Krishna by offering fruits. Then why Srila Prabhupada names the title for chapter 5 as Karma Yoga in Krishna consciousness? So there is a gradual progression from offering fruits to Krishna because I like fruits, and offering fruits to Krishna because I like Krishna. For example, I like samosa, and I have heard that I should eat only prasadam. So because I like samosa, so I put lots of effort in making a samosa, and at the end offer to Krishna so that I can quickly eat it. And then because Krishna likes samosa, so I take lots of effort in making a samosa and offering to Krishna and accept his prasad. So that's a gradual progression from one attitude to another, and that's the progression from chapter 3 to chapter 5, and in between is chapter 4, transcendental knowledge, that yes, I am servant of Krishna, so I should progress towards liking samosa to liking Krishna. Okay, another question is, Prabhu, I am very restless, no sleep. I always remember Radha Madhav, what can I do? Okay, if it is a medical condition, please seek medical advice. If your mind is disturbed, that's why you're not feeling sleepy, please do something about what is bothering you. Talk to somebody who knows you. And if you're thinking of Krishna and not sleeping, that's wonderful. But at the same time, we are sadhakas depending on this material body, so we need sleep unless we are very advanced beyond sleep, like Goswamis. So what is bothering us, we should try to rectify it. Do your round, stand nicely, live in mode of goodness, eat properly, honor prasadam, have nice friends in Krishna consciousness. So then the mind will be peaceful, so that you can take sleep. My prayers for you, all the best. Okay, that ends the questions on the comment section of Facebook live class, and we will end here. Thank you for participating in this 7-day Science of Self-Realization course. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.